A 20-minute task turns into 45 after just checking Slack. That's not willpower. It's your brain paying for switching tasks again and again. Research shows that every context jump causes significant switching time and more errors. Today, we're exploring what tool switching actually costs your thinking and 5 strategies that works with your brain's architecture, not against it. Most productivity advice treats switching as a willpower problem. Just resist the temptation, be more disciplined, build better habits. But what that misses is what's actually going on in your brain. This is a systems problem. Your mind has a measurable limit for processing information, but modern digital workflows consistently violate these limits. To think deeper and learn smarter, we need to learn how to design around these limits and not fight against them. When we respect these cognitive constraints, focus can get easier, even with complex tools and AI workflows. When you jump from your document to Slack to AI and then to your email, your brain isn't just looking. It's reconfiguring a different set of rules. Each app has different goals and different ways to interact. Moving between these rules requires your brain to unload one specific set of rules and then take on another. Cognitive psychologists have a name for this overhead: switching costs. In controlled environments, researchers found that people consistently lose time and make more mistakes when switching between different tasks, even simple ones like sorting objects. The more complex your tasks, the steeper these costs become. Think of it like changing gears in a car. Do it once, it's barely noticeable. Do it constantly, the engine starts to struggle. But here's what's making it worse. Even after you land in the new app, part of your brain is still processing the last thing you were doing. This is called attention residue, the persistence of cognitive activity from your previous task, even though you've moved on to something new. So physically, now you're in your email, but cognitively, you're still in that last document you were writing. You're here, but not fully here. And that divided attention state hurts both speed and accuracy. The more complex and unfinished your previous task is, the stickier that residue becomes. This is why interrupting deep work feels so jarring. You're trying to run 2 meaningful mental processes at the same time. Now let's talk about your brain's core limitation, working memory. This is your conscious thinking space, where you hold and process information in real time. And it's remarkably small. Research shows that we can only juggle 3 to 5 meaningful chunks at a time. So when you're switching between these tools, you're flooding that tiny buffer. Interface changes, keyboard shortcut, notifications, and visual layout. This triggers what educational psychologists call the split attention effect. When the information you need is scattered across different windows, your brain has to work extra hard to stitch it all together, causing slower processing time and more mistakes. This is why a quick check derails an entire work block. You're paying switching costs on your way out and attention residue coming back in. Studies of email behavior show frequent checking across the entire workday, with many people keeping their inboxes open continuously. Each check might seem harmless and innocent enough, but these interruptions compound throughout the day. You're not just losing the seconds you spend on glancing and responding. You're paying the mental overhead that can take a few minutes to fully clear, and that can add up to a few hours throughout the day. All right, enough theory, let's get practical. Here are 5 strategies that work with your brain's architecture, not against it. Together, they can help you gain your focus back. The first is to set up a task cue card. Before starting any work block, create a simple cue card with your outcome and the steps to get there. Keep it where your eyes can see it throughout the entire work session. Cross off completed items as you go. This can help keep your attention flowing to the next concrete action instead of hovering at decision points. This works because your brain only needs to focus on the step that you are currently on. When I finish this step, then I'll move on to the next one. This minimizes the chunks of information that you hold in your working memory. The second one is called one workbench. This is where you work inside one window arranged with two panels. The document you need to reference on one side and the canvas you need to create on the other. Use the split screen feature or simply arrange your documents into two panels. Hide your doc. Disable notifications for the work block. This works because it reduces split attention. No more stitching information across multiple windows. This way, your limited working memory can stay focused on the actual problem. The next one is the single channel focus. During focused work, commit to one mode of input and stay there. If you're reading, no audio or video running in the background. If you're listening to a podcast or an audiobook, dim or even turn off your screen so you aren't processing the text at the same time. If you use paired modes for accessibility, like captions with audio for hearing support, or audio with text for language learning, keep one primary channel and make the second one a thin scaffold, not a competing information stream. When I'm writing, I either work in complete silence or I choose instrumental music that becomes background noise. But I never try to write while I listen to a podcast, because both tasks demand language processing bandwidth. The next strategy is called set up your return. Sometimes you have to switch contexts. A meeting pops up, or you need information from a different tool. The key is to make your return seamless, so you don't lose momentum hunting around for where you left off. So before you switch, create a return runway. Write one return line you can't miss. Then in your document, drop a visual marker at the exact spot you'll continue. When you return, your eyes hit the marker, you read the return line, and you're back in motion. This works because you're pre-deciding your next move, which cuts the cognitive overload from reorientation, and it protects your working memory from having to reconstruct from scratch. The last strategy is to run a retrieval reset to build context before you dive back in. Anytime you've been away, any new tabs, any meetings, any tool switch, you have to rebuild your working context. Most people just dive right back into their notes or documents, but that can be inefficient. Instead, run a retrieval reset to try and remember what you were doing before you switched. Recall what you were doing right before you left, and why that work matters. Then try to outline what your next two steps would be from memory. Only after you recall these items do you dive back into the work. If you can't remember the full details, that's normal and kind of the point. The efforts of trying to recall is what rebuilds context from working memory. Those 5 strategies can help you focus better when you're in a work block, or help you transition smoothly if you do need to step away but need to come back to your work. But there's one more thing I want to mention that get to the root of the problem. That is, what kind of tools we let into our workflow in the first place. New apps and new tools can be very tempting, with their shiny features and interfaces or even capabilities. After understanding the cognitive load they play in our working memory, I become intentional when it comes to selecting what tool I let in on my workload. A question I ask is, will this remove at least 2 steps or 2 apps from my current process? If the answer is no, it stays out. Because my goal isn't to have the most advanced toolkit. It is to have the minimum viable toolkit that removes friction from my thinking process. Focus isn't about resisting technology or developing superhuman discipline. It is about designing fewer but cleaner handoffs that work with our brain's architecture, not against it. Try one of these strategies this week. Start small, maybe with the 2 panels within the same window. Your future focused self will thank you for respecting the cognitive limits that make deep work possible. If this video helped you focus better, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the newsletter and the channel. Links are in the description box. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.